Welcome to Rescue Dogs Responsibly Confidence Building Walk with a Fearful Dog. Please like and subscribe. I see so many questions online about what activities to do with fearful dogs to help them. And with Vienna here, who is a fearful dog, came from not a great situation in New Mexico, we are just taking a walk today. So you may be wondering why I choose a walk for the confidence boosting activity for a fearful dog. So there's a couple reasons. One is walking is very natural for a dog, and to get to go for a walk is a reward for the dog. I've never met a dog that doesn't like to go for a walk after they get over just the initial shock and fear of it if it's something they're not used to. Another reason is it's a very non-conflicting way to interact with your fearful dog. You can walk next to each other. You don't have to reach over the dog or try to give it treats or play with a toy. Most of that stuff is going to actually scare a fearful dog. But walking next to the dog, even if it needs to be at a distance, which you'll see, sometimes I use a long line for this. In fact, I actually recommend starting with a long line so the dog can have some freedom and distance from the people. It's a very kind of easygoing activity and natural activity for the dog to do with something else, whether it be a dog or another person. Another thing I like about going for a walk is that it allows a dog, one, to be in nature, but also that being in nature encourages the dog to use its nose. Fearful dogs often don't use their nose. And being out in nature with smells, but to the dog it's interesting. It gets the dog to use its nose and act more like a dog. The other reason is that it's fairly easy for people to do this. You don't really need to be a skilled dog trainer to take a dog for a walk on a long line, but you do need to follow some certain guidelines that I'll list in this video. As if a dog would naturally run away from people on a bicycle, let's say 50 feet away, we're just gonna keep the dog at a safe distance from those people and just not let the dog run away. You have to gauge the distance for your particular dog during your activity. So I would never take a dog that's scared of people on bikes and our first outing be 10 feet within a bicycle. That's too close to that object. It's a balancing act of exposing the dog to fearful objects at a distance that's safe enough for them to get used to it and see that it's not going to hurt them, versus putting them at too close of a distance, which is just going to send them into a panic. The other important thing is not to be afraid or worried about your dog while you're doing this. You cannot soothe a dog out of fear. You have to just provide a calm, confident, supportive energy for them. And you can reassure them that things are okay, which you'll see me doing in this video by patting the dog or just merely being there for the dog and being close to her. But I never start worrying about her and petting her and being like, oh, it's okay, you poor dog, you must have been abused, you poor dog. If you act that way, the dog cannot trust you and therefore cannot progress, because the dog will feel like she is there on her own without a leader. These techniques can also be used for regular dogs if you want to find out why they're being reactive or what they're actually afraid of, because the long line allows them more freedom and will allow them to make choices on their own. And of course, if you're working with a fearful dog, make sure you don't allow strangers to come up and pet it. Don't let kids run up and pet it. Keep your dog safe. Keep that space bubble around your fearful dog so that it feels protected and safe with you. You can work on exposing the dog to people and that sort of thing at a much later date. Also, make sure you choose a park, if at all possible, at a quiet time. If the park is busy, let's say there's kids playing at the playground, find a section of the park that's quiet and go to that section. And as your fearful dog gains more confidence and trust with you, you can start to move closer and closer to those noisier, scarier, and more hectic areas of the park. In some areas, I'm letting Vienna decide where she wants to go. I'm using a log line so that way she can, one, get some distance from me, who she doesn't trust totally yet, and two, she can go investigate things and use her nose like a dog would without me having to control her on a leash too much. Other reason I use a long line is because it allows the dog some freedom of choice. Often if dogs are on a 6-foot leash that are fearful, they feel trapped. This is a 25-foot long line, but it allows her freedom to move away from things that might scare her, investigate things that are interesting, and that sort of thing. All right, the other thing, which I'm going to mention here, and I mention in many of my other online courses, is to use a martingale collar with a chain or cloth. Martingales are incredibly secure if they are sized properly. Harnesses are not. I've seen many dogs slip out of harnesses because they get scared and they can back out of them. So trying to make a dog like this feel or be within 6 feet of you sometimes isn't the best place to start. I find that dogs actually do better on a long line, and occasionally I'll guide them to something. It's a give and take. Come here, girl. Come on, girl. Come on. Good girl. Come over here. So, you know, probably this tree smells. So I'm going to guide her over here. She's going to check it out a little bit. Now, if she gets scared and wants to run away, I'm not going to let her practice that. I'm just going to keep walking at my pace and just slow her down by just holding the leash the same length. I'm not going to correct her or anything for that. And I may even call her, come here, Vienna, if she gets scared, to me and let her sniff something. So that way she knows there's an alternative. If you let them practice running away from things, they're going to do it more. Good girl. Good job. So here she wants to go back to my car that's parked over there because she feels safer there. I'm not ready to go back to the car yet, and I'm not going to let her pull me back to the car because I have to teach her that if she stays out here with me instead, we're going to go do some fun stuff and sniff some stuff. Fearful dogs will do what their habit is. Let's see, there's a guy walking this way right here, and so she wants to run away from this guy. Come here, girl. Good girl. And she comes to me to check in, right? Which is great. I always want them to come to me if they get scared. So I call them over to me. And we're going to watch that guy together, right? And figure out he's nothing scary. She's like, okay, he's all right. Now I want to still go back to the car. Come on, girl. We're going over here. Come on. And so I'm not being mean and leading her, but I am, I'm like, we're going this way. And she's a very biddable dog. And so she's going to follow me. Dogs like her feel more secure if they have people telling them where to go and what to do, because otherwise she'd just be scared. All right, first thing we did is go around the whole park on the long line like I told you. And now we're going to do some more detailed things. Now this may not be that easy. You might have to coax the dog, but you notice I'm getting up here first, right? Good girl. Dogs like high lookouts, so they can see what's going on. Good girl. can have them go through these areas with you. So when you ask a fearful dog to go through a small area with you, it requires an amount of trust. The key is to make sure. Oh, good girl. Good girl. Good job. Good job. Come on through, good girl. I don't care if she's actually going through the one I want her to, which is this one, because I'm not keeping the leash short enough. Yay, good girl. Again, I tested it. You make sure it's not too hot. Yes. Yes. That's a good girl. That's a good girl. Good girl. If your dog isn't quite ready to climb on picnic tables or go through bike racks, you can make things simpler on the dog. For example, instead of going around the entire park perimeter, maybe just concentrate on one area of the park and keep it smaller and simpler. You can do what I'm doing here and just go between a couple trees and then rest in the shade with your dog to observe things. You want to make sure to set your dog up so they can succeed, but not make it so difficult or stressful for them that they're just going to panic and freak out. Whatever your dog is ready for, I find that if you practice it at least 3 times in a session with your dog, that will help them, 1, be able to predict what you're doing, and 2, feel more comfortable with the activity. At the beginning of exposing fearful dogs to the world, I often keep sessions fairly short, anywhere from 15 to 20 minutes. If the dog is doing well and seems to be improving quite a bit, I can stretch the session out to 30, maybe 45 minutes. But I want to watch for when the dog gets tired or bored with the activity, and then I want to end the session. We're going to head back to the car soon. You can see she's not nearly as afraid of those guys across the street because, 1, we've been by them a couple times, and 2, I didn't just let her run away. I made her stop and observe and think about it. Since she has to live in a human world and be adopted, I have to teach her these things because these are in her best interest. And if I keep letting her run away from stuff, she's going to just practice that more and more, which will make it harder for the adopter later, right? So last thing we're going to do is we're just going to sit here for a few minutes. I'm going to give her some massage to relax her, and then we're going to get some water. This exercise I do with my dogs once a week, even now. And it's always a fun, like, calming, relaxing exercise. And we just enjoy being at the park, on a long line. But with a fearful dog, I find this to be especially helpful. And we may go to the same place several days in a row, or once a week, or something like that. But this can be a really good bonding opportunity for you and your fearful dog. Working with a fearful dog can usually take several months, so have patience with your dog and yourself. Thank you.